Hello, hello, hello. We are live. We are live. I am so excited to have you guys here with us tonight. It's Black History Month, y'all, and tonight we kick off a fabulous month of Iron Sharpens Iron. It's a series that we've been working on, and ooh, I'm about to jump out of my skin. And I've just spent some time talking to, and tonight I've got some current, it's Black History Month, but current pioneers and history makers here with us tonight. Tonight we have two leaders who are going to help us understand what it's like to be a leader, what it's like to get our brand together, and really achieve our goals on purpose, not wandering around in the wilderness trying to figure out where we're going. So I want to welcome you to Purposeful Productivity, and I'm Florence, and I help professionals like you, nonprofit executives, ministry leaders, to fix the friction in your productivity workflow so you can achieve your purpose. So I'm going to tell you who they are just a teeny bit, and then I will bring them on. We have none other than Cher Jones. If you've never found her on LinkedIn, you will go find her today. She is the founder of Socially Active Training, an employee advocacy training company that specializes in personal branding for the hybrid workplace. She teaches leaders, consultants, experts on how to develop a professional digital presence, which we all need, that makes people want to work with them, for them, and to champion them. All of us need it. I need it. You need it. Hang tight. We also have a gentleman who I call him one of my big brothers. He's one of the four horsemen, so I'm a little partial. Steve Worthy, who is a seasoned business leader with over 25 years in retail leadership. And let me just do a little sidebar here. If you don't listen to his leadership training, you're missing out. His career is focused on assisting podcasters and leaders to find their unique voice and understand how to fit in their culture to advance their podcasting, their careers. Steve is a podcasting veteran who started in 2007 with By Husbands for Husbands, a podcast and business focused on helping entrepreneurial husbands succeed professionally and personally balancing work and family. He is the founder and CEO of Worthy Retail U, and he's going to talk about something special. I'm going to ask him called the campus that he's launching for leaders, and he assists all kind of retail leaders in growing and honing their skills to maximize their career journey. So I'm going to get them here in about 8 seconds, and you guys buckle up because it's going to be fabulous. I feel like saying, bring them out, bring them out, bring them out.
Oh, you could have. I would have been good with that.
I would have absolutely.
Welcome to both of you all, and I'm gonna just say share because Steve has been here,
Mhm.
and he's one of the four horsemen. But I am so honored that you joined us. Thank you for saying yes.
Well, thank you for having me. First time visitor, long time watcher. So I appreciate being on the show today.
So I want to just welcome you all, and we're going to get a chance to talk. You're going to each get a chance to tell us who you are. But if you don't mind, I'd like to just say hello to a few of the folks. Uh-oh, you got a
Yeah,
heckler in the chat. He
go figure.
James Hicks.
Of course, James.
James Hicks is a heckler in the chat. He says back Black excellence. Natalie Johnson Lee, welcome. Natalie, so glad to have you here. Joshua Ewell is here with us. Frank
What's
Jackson
going
is
on,
here with
Joshua?
us. So thank you guys for being here. I'm going to start out by asking questions, but while I am there talking, what I want you all to do, who is with us in the building tonight, get your questions ready. Put them in the chat. Do not wait. Because if you have questions, they have answers. And I'm going to start by going to the beautiful Miss Cher Jones and asking her if she will just tell us who she is a little bit more, her origin story, and most of all,
Mm,
what is her passion. So I'm going to kick it over to
mm.
you, Cher.
Well, it's kind of cool. The
Mm.
who I am, the origin story, and the passion are all one, which is amazing. So, really excited to be on the show today. And a little bit about me: I help people develop their personal brands at work for work. I've been doing this for a very long time. Literally for 10 years, I've been iterating to innovate. And my passion is truly helping people own their awesome and love going to work because they shine in their excellence. People know what they do, people can champion them, they want to work with them, and they want to work for them. So, a lot of that comes down to doing that inner work and recognizing what makes you awesome, and then translating that into proof, credibility, your profiles, how you introduce yourself, all that good stuff. And the reason why I do that so well these days is because of the fact that I started my career a long time ago in broadcast journalism. And I used to work in sports broadcasting, and moved into marketing, and then corporate communications and PR for the city of Toronto, one of the largest municipalities in North America. And one of the things that I was able to do was, as all those jobs, they required me to transition my brand, when brand wasn't a word, but your reputation back then. And as I moved into my job at the City of Toronto in that corporate communications and PR position, I was asked to talk about social media. So, to date myself, this is right after Obama won the elections, and a lot of politicians were starting to use social media to build their brands, because obviously it was a thing and it was working. And they've asked me to speak to young people, and they also asked me to speak to newcomers who were professionals, who should be doctors and lawyers in Canada, but yet they were driving cabs and doing basic jobs because they didn't have the certifications, or they weren't able to work here. So one of the things that I helped them do, I helped them own their awesome, so that they could they could put themselves out there. And that slowly evolved into other opportunities. I also created the city's first social media training program for all of the communicators in the city. And that was really interesting because, again, all these things that you're doing on the outside, and this is why I bring this up, all these things that you do on the outside, people are noticing.
Mm.
And people will ask you about the things that you're doing, and all of a sudden you're going to attract opportunities that wouldn't have existed if they didn't know. So that's a little bit about my origin story. There's lots to tell, but yeah, I worked in broadcasting, I worked in marketing, and I worked in corporate communications and PR. And then about 10 years ago, I started doing what a version of what I'm doing now, and I've been doing it ever since.
Awesome, awesome, awesome. Steve, I'm going to come to you, sir. And same question. Who is Steve?
I
Origin
don't even
story.
know. I don't know how to follow that. I don't know how to follow all of that. Um, I
Hey,
yeah, I'm
good luck
Steve.
to you.
I'm
That's all I
Steve. There
can
you
say.
go. Oh wow. Yeah. No, I appreciate that. And Cher is always a hard act to follow, man. All the time. So Steve Worthy, founder and CEO of Worthy Retail, and we focus in on helping senior retail leaders grow who they are so that they can also understand and grow their profitability from a personal and professional standpoint. But we also work with these same leaders to grow their kind of their store managers and some of their managers into high potential leaders. Just super excited to be here. My origin story, started as a reluctant leader. Um, for so long in my younger adult life, until I was posed with different leadership challenges by people. I've been very blessed to have different leaders in my life kind of speak into me and see things in me that I didn't necessarily see in myself. And then over time, it just really started to buy into the leader that I am. Um, After my stint into the Air Force, did career of about 25, 27 years as a retail exec. Over the last 2 years have been going 100% into Worthy Retail, and just excited to talk to everybody out there and talk a little more about leadership and productivity as well.
Awesome. Well, glad to have both of you all, and we're trying to get your links straight. I will say for everyone, including the replay crew, links to connect with both Cher and Steve will be in the description,
Mhm.
and we are dropping them in. The moderators are dropping them in throughout tonight, so that as you get to know them and you get answers from them, you will want to connect with them and you will want other people to connect with them. So we want to make sure that you have an opportunity to do so in a way that's easy for you and we put it at your fingertips. Okay? So I want to jump in.
Mm.
So folks going to start asking questions here. I'm going to jump
Yeah.
in and start asking you questions here this evening because I have lots of them, and I'm going to ask you to just share some examples of how you have overcome some of the challenges or obstacles being in business, specifically in being leaders in this creator economy, to maintain your productivity. Because it's not,
Mm.
it doesn't happen just because you want it to happen, right? I talk
Say
about
that again.
fixing the friction. So, kind of share what are some of the things how examples of maybe some of them and how you've overcome some. I'm not gonna. Who
Go ahead,
wants to go
Cher.
first? Steve, you scared to go after Cher though.
Yes, Steve, go first.
Yeah. No, no, so here's the thing, Sarah and I talk about this all the time. I think that's why we were both kind of like, when you asked this question, we were both sort of laughing and just kind of like, because, we both have two ends of the spectrum, if you will, from a entrepreneurial perspective, right? Cher has more experience than I do in this entrepreneurial space. So for me, it has been translating a lot of the leadership and business understanding that I've, had in the retail industry, and then how do I transform that into this entrepreneurial journey? Some of those things translate, and some of them do not. Some of the things that translate is, of course, the ability to do what I'm doing, coaching, training, and mentoring other leaders. But then the other pieces that probably don't translate are the aspects of when you're leading in the corporate setting, you have the credibility of that company, but you also have the financial wherewithal of that company. And so when you move into this entrepreneurial space, you don't have that cushion. You don't have that foundation. So everything from a productivity standpoint looks a lot different. Um, you have to truly trim the fat. It is not about doing each and every single thing that you really want to do. It is about how do you focus? How do you actually get to the place where you can actually streamline the things that you need to be doing and that you need to be talking about? Um, I was
Hmm.
Cher and I last year we did this exercise, and we talked in the context of like our words for the year, right? My word for the year is discipline, and part of that idea of discipline is how do you do the right things and stop trying to do all the other things. But we did this exercise of like having all of these things in a room, all of our skills, our gifts, and resources, everything that we've been putting out there sort of in the ethos, and then how do we empty that room, and then how do we just put back what we actually need? And I got to tell you, that was probably one of the hardest exercises that we've done, because the tendency, especially from a productivity standpoint, is that you start to think, oh, well, maybe I could do this. Well, hold on a second, don't forget this. Let me put that in the room, right? But when you really have someone that can hold you accountable to that, you're only putting in that room what is necessary. And so, from a productivity standpoint, from being in the industry to now being from an entrepreneurial standpoint, is really trying to make sure that I'm only doing what I'm supposed to be doing and not trying to do too much.
Yeah.
Awesome. Share what you got for us.
It's interesting because I have non-neurotypical wiring. So I do have ADHD and I do have medication to help me with executive functioning. And it took a long time for me to understand how my brain works effectively and what
Mhm.
I need to do to create environments, productive environments, and what I need to do, what makes sense for me from scheduling, from distractions, from doing too much, from like there's so much. And
Mm,
Steve's been amazing because he's taken the time to understand also how my brain works as well. And he knows how productive I am. And he also, when I am in a hyper focus mode, and he knows when I have to shut down all the distractions and just stay focused. Um, so that it for me, especially over the last few years, it's really been about behavior modification and setting up
mm,
systems
mm,
to help
mm,
me um, to help me navigate through this space, because it's definitely not easy. And and understanding that when you have an ADHD brain, basically what it is just it's a dopamine deficiency. So your brain is hunting out dopamine because it doesn't naturally deliver it to the spot where it needs it. So
mm,
which makes me go off on shiny object syndrome. So going back to what Steve was saying is like hunting. I'm the queen of doing too much. And over the time when I didn't understand how my wiring worked, I learned to do a lot of things. And that is a challenge because I'm proficient at a lot of things, but I'm doing a lot of things that I
mm.
shouldn't be doing. So constantly recognizing, is that a who? Trying to figure out who, not how. So not,
Yeah.
not wanting to go and learn and figure out how to do something is really important for me. And then also recognizing the systems I need to pick back up from where I left off. And
Mhm,
so to go from a productivity standpoint, I leave literally in the system that I use. I know we're going to talk tech later, but I leave notes in the comment section. Here's where you last left off. This is what you're working on. This is where you'll find it. I have to leave myself notes because in my past, before understanding how my brain works, I would start and it's like there's this whole out of sight, out of mind thing when
mhm,
ADHDers do stuff that I would not even remember that I did it until I find a version of it. And
mhm,
so for me, over the last few years, productivity has really been wrapped around understanding my wiring and then setting up systems, setting up or removing distractions, uh, and such as social media distractions like Instagram and stuff like that. I contain my time, and I just have to be very careful. And it's really
mhm.
notes, lots of notes, and technology too. I use a lot of tech.
Yeah.
Okay,
There,
awesome.
there, there- there's a guy that we listened to, and actually she sort of mentioned he was sort of the inspiration behind the book, 10x is better than 2x, Benjamin Hardy. But the inspiration was a guy named Dan Sullivan, who does he has a massive coaching company called Strategic Coach. And he often talks about like doing just three things, in the day, right? For most of us, it's super hard. It's super hard, and I'm saying that because it's even hard for me. But what the idea was that if we are able to do like just three solid tasks a day, right, and you do that every day, right, so 3 times 7, that's 21, like really solid things that you've done in that week. Well, let's just say even it's a 5-day week, right? Now that's 15, right, and then you just continue to do the math. And I think part of productivity is, of course, I think about it as it relates to efficiency, and once again, doing the right thing. And Sharon knows this. I'm an early bird, so man, if 5 o'clock in the morning, I'm up by 8. Dude, I have done I've gotten a lot accomplished. Afternoon, I'm spent. I'm like, dude, okay, I need a nap or something. But I think we also have to understand from a productivity standpoint, when is our ideal time frame to get a lot of stuff done, because we want to try to do all these other things. And sometimes we will start something. For me, I'll start something maybe in the afternoon. It's like, okay, it's not going to be as efficient, as it would have if I actually saved it for the morning. So sometimes I'll save stuff for my most productive, so for my most productive time frame as well.
And I'm the
Awesome.
exact opposite. I'm
Yeah,
You a
really
night
good.
owl?
I not a ni I like I'm a slow kinda in the morning, and then, about noon onwards up until, yes, not super late, but I can do it super late. I can absolutely work and get things done. I'm not
yes,
effective at 5 o'clock in the morning at all. It's just not my thing, and I'm okay with that.
I
yeah, it's
understand.
annoying, but it's all good.
Yeah.
Okay. So we've got some questions here, which I want you all to answer the questions for the community,
Mhm.
because I can go. But you guys have kind of been talking around something. So who wants to kind of spill the beans so that people aren't confused about like the context of the conversation?
Yes. Go ahead, Steve.
What? What do you want? What do you want? Go
Start
on.
start
No,
start
yeah,
taking
yeah,
your
yeah, yeah,
orders now.
yeah, 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 yeah. Go on.
Oh, wow.
Well, well, it's funny. It's funny. Cher and I are engaged. Her dad said yes. When I asked him, yeah, I'm going to tell the story real quick. It's kind of funny, um, because before I proposed, I made sure that I got their approval. So I end up calling them in true Mr. and Mrs. Jones fashion. They were in Costco, and and so I'm talking to Cher's mom, and, her mom was kinda like, "Yeah, oh my god, thing. Oh, yeah, absolutely, absolutely, absolutely." And then, I talked to, her dad gets on the phone, and I talk to him, he's, my man, Mr. Jones, love that guy, Jamaican man, true and true, you know? I said, "Mr. Jones," he's like, nah, man, you can't do this over the phone. You gotta do it in person." I was like it's like, "Okay." So I was flying up the next week, so I ended up having a good conversation with him and everything, and, proposed on Boxing Day, and, of course, she said yes, and, there you go.
And
So,
there you go. So
That's
we
the
met live
story.
streaming, which is really
yeah.
interesting,
Oh, yeah.
and way before we even before this was a thing, like, probably about 4 years before this was a thing, and
Mhm. Yeah,
then yeah, so
yeah, yeah.
All right, so everybody won't be confused now about the context of the conversation.
there
We've
you go.
got some questions here. I'm going to start with and welcome to the stream, a brother of a certain age. I know you one of the people who watch, and I want to bring your question up first. And I hope I didn't misdo this, but the question is, what are some things that do not translate over from the corporate environment to the entrepreneurial space?
Mm.
That's a strong question.
It's a great question. It's interesting. I guess I'll just start answering that one. Time. You know, how do you look at time? I just did a podcast on this. For retail leadership with Steve Worthy. It's a two-part series. It's called Everything Works at Home Office. And what I'm doing with the series is that I'm actually providing three things HQ can learn from stores, and three things stores can learn from HQ. And one of the massive differences is around time management and also vision, right? When you are in a corporate setting, your time window, your time horizon is a lot longer, especially if you're thinking about projects. It's 6 weeks, I mean, 6 months, 12 months, sometimes 18 months out, right? The work schedule is a lot different, right? There is 9 to 5. When you think about the same thing an entrepreneurial standpoint, right? The time horizon for bigger things, yes, it could be 6, 12 months, but for the most part, that time horizon is shrunk. And then the ability for you to actually do the right things, once again, it kind of goes back to what I said around having the corporate funding and foundation behind you to be able to make a lot of mistakes, right? In the entrepreneurial world, while you want to make and learn as fast as you possibly can, you understand that if you continue to make mistakes, you are going to continue to be kind of thrown in behind. So I just think the time horizon and around how to get things done, but also how do you actually plan out your day, plan out your projects, and all those different things. Those are some of the things that I think do not translate really well that I am learning to deal with and actually have to adapt myself.
And then I would say, adding on to something that you actually touched on earlier, is you don't have the brand that you worked for as something that props you up, right? So
100%.
now it's not about you represent this company and therefore the cachet of or the caliber of that brand now immediately you immediately get that trust associated with that brand, the quality, the longevity. You're there out on your own. And so what you have to develop is that trust, that clarity, um, that that brand cachet that wasn't there before. Like,
Mhm,
who are you?
mhm.
Now you're just Cher Jones. You're not Cher Jones from the city of Toronto who's responsible for an entire division's communications. You're just
Right.
Cher Jones. Who are you and what can you do for me? And can I trust you to do it? So that's where building your brand and
Mm,
the knowledge and like putting it out there and actually talking about yourself in a way that is service centric, because a lot of people don't know how to do it. They kind of lead with accolades, which doesn't build trust
mm,
until you
mm.
have set out the relevance on why these accolades matter. And the relevance is around, well, how do you help? How do you transform
Yeah,
situations? How do you serve? And who is it you help? And
yeah,
then the stuff you've done now backs up why you're the person that they should choose. And it's not based
100%.
on that corporate brand is your brand.
Yeah, accolades work in corporate. Accolades work in corporate, right? KPIs and all of those things that you achieved, right? On your resume and yada yada yada. Like honestly, Cher says this all the time. We both say it all the time. Nobody cares, right? From an entrepreneurial standpoint, they
Mhm.
want to know, like, what can you do for me? Like,
Yeah,
what is I always talk about from a leadership standpoint with leaders, like, what specific problem does your leadership solve for? Right? What is that? What is it? Because they're or what is and also what is the thing that you're known for, right? The issue that we see a lot of times, and I've had to kind of do it myself, which is why I kind of be moving away from this podcasters live piece, is that I've had to really focus in and hone in on what it is that I want to stand for. And once I've been able to do that, guess what? Everything else became a lot more clear. So when from a corporate to an entrepreneurial standpoint, you have to get clarity and you need help. A lot of times you need help with that clarity, right? Because you are so close to it. You're so
right.
close to what Cher just talked about, that brand as a corporate leader. You're so close to that. But when you get in this space and what you did there, it's not gonna work here.
And
You
then
need help with that.
the other thing too, and it was something that I just thought about with a client that I had today. So many people get stuck in talking about what they do to get to the end game rather than
Yeah.
focus on the end game. And that's a big difference in how you articulate what it is you do and how you serve, right? Because it's the results that people want, not
Yes.
all the things that make that happen. You can get into your process afterwards, but most people are talking about the process rather than the results. So
Yeah.
people need to, like Steve was saying, people need to learn how to effectively articulate their value and their credibility in the right order and in a way that people actually care and can
Yeah.
repeat it to somebody else.
I'm just gonna
Yeah.
say this.
Yeah.
Cher, take those stilettos off my neck. You got the stilettos on my neck,
There
lady.
you go. It's true though. It's
It is so true.
amazing.
It is so true. It is so
And once
true.
people can navigate
Uh,
their spaces and truly introduce themselves on a meeting, on a call, face to face, and they're not so I call this like they're passing the mic, right? So what they're
mm,
doing, they're not stepping up to it, they're just passing it by. If you just say your name and your title, you just pass the mic. It
yeah.
only takes an extra 10 seconds to clarify and double down into your value, right? Because I could say, I am a personal branding expert. My name is Cher Jones, personal branding expert. That tells you nothing. Personal branding at what? Personal branding for who? Oh, you work on Instagram and TikTok? No, there's no
Yeah,
clarity there.
yeah.
But if I'm Cher Jones and I help people develop their personal brands at work for work so that they excel in their roles, grow in their careers, and also make the company brand look good too. Yes, that was an extra 10 seconds, but you know exactly what I do. You know where
Mhm.
I live. And that's what people need to be able to do on command. And most people can't.
Strong.
And that makes a productive meeting because
That makes it productive. That makes you productive.
to bring it back
So
to bring it home.
I'm gonna go to Mr. James Hicks. By the way, he talking
Oh
about you, Steve.
no,
He's not here for you. He's here for me and Cher.
that's fine.
Hey,
He says,
James.
"Do you do you have a definition for productivity versus being slash looking busy?"
Mm,
Mm,
I have one, but I'm gonna
yeah.
wait for you
Why are you waiting for me? Go ahead.
because I was just talking so much, and I know you're looking at me like, "Oh, she's gonna talk so much."
No, you're good. You're good.
Okay, so
That's the feedback later.
yeah, I
Yeah.
know, and we can brief. So I would say the difference between because we can be and look busy all the time, right? There's lots
Mhm.
of things to do, but what's the intention behind the doing, right? What is going to move the needle? So it's almost to the point where, especially as entrepreneurs, and I know, James, you have a lot on your plate being an entrepreneur, putting stuff out there, and content creator and supporting people on so many different levels. You have to be able to determine what's most important and triage that, and then to Steve's point earlier, some things just don't make the list, right? And so that productivity is that doing with intention and knowing the end game, and that's where I will uh, stop speaking. My name is Cher
Oh.
Jones. And I'm done speaking.
Yes, yo, it's so funny. It's so funny. I was just cleaning up my phone, all the apps on my phone, and I deleted Clubhouse, and I
Oh, wow.
still had like the app on my phone, and I was like, and I was just because you know how that your phone can just get like messy, and it was I just literally just deleted that Clubhouse app on my phone. It's like I'm never
Okay.
gonna go back on there anymore. So
Yeah.
it's so
Yeah.
So
funny you said
what's
that.
your definition, Steve?
Yeah, it's can I be honest? Sometimes it gets a little gray.
I hope you always honest, bro.
Yeah, sometimes it gets a little gray, and the looking busy piece because um can I s- when here's the thing. Okay, I hate being so honest, man, but I get when I hear people
Everybody
all the
say
time,
honest in the chat to help him out.
Mhm.
Help him out.
yeah,
Help him out.
yeah,
Mhm.
no, when I hear a lot of people talk about like, you know, um I'm not even gonna go there. Here's the thing. My biggest thing when it comes to that productivity and that and looking busy, it is a gray area. Because when you are putting out, like, say you're putting out a lot of content and you're putting out a lot of things online, right? The tendency is that you want to do that in order for you to seem and appear like you are more than what you are. And I'm not saying that that's a bad thing. And I'm not saying that's a bad thing. But when I think about, from a productivity standpoint, though you're not doing a lot of things that to be seen, right? You are doing a lot of things to for impact that you won't probably see, for especially as an entrepreneur, maybe a month, maybe 6 weeks down the line, right? The looking busy, anybody can do that. Cher just said that anybody can kind of like push that, have a to-do list, and that to-do list is like, dude, seriously? I mean, do you need to do all of that stuff today, right? And so I just think about it in the context of like, how do you do whatever it is that you need to do for impact, right? That we talked about the three things, earlier, right? Anything I put on my list now, because I was a try to do a whole bunch of stuff and look busy, over the last 6, 7, 8 months, has been like I need to make sure that I'm actually doing things from a productivity standpoint and from an impact standpoint. So Looking busy is fine, if that's what you want to do, but does looking busy like pay the bills, right?
Nope.
Does looking busy get you the clients? I don't necessarily think so.
Awesome. And so we got one other question in here, and you guys, you can keep asking questions because Steve will continue to answer. The next question is again from James Hicks. Your thoughts on strategies for amplifying your personal brand effectively while working in a corporate environment?
That's all Cher Jones all day
That's
long.
all Cher Jones right there. He's
Yeah,
coming,
I don't got
coming.
nothing to say about that.
We are just gonna give her the mic and let her go.
Okay, so one of the things I think is really important, especially being a creator at work, there are a lot of transferable skills from your creator side and what you can do. And there's a lot of knowledge transfer that happens going both ways. And I think it's important to recognize as you're building your brand, look for those bridges of opportunity because you can create gateways or and open doors to hidden opportunities when people can see what it is you're doing or what you have the skills in doing. So James, for example, you can podcast, you can put together a show, you are entrepreneurial, you can create content, you can write, you can
No,
do
he
all
can't.
things. And
No, he can't.
that is such a skill because there's an opportunity for internal content at work. There's opportunities for people to recognize, okay, the crossover skills, but also recognize maybe there's an opportunity for me to create internal content to again showcase those skills and serve your audience inwards. And it really depends. And for you, you might be like, listen, I have enough to do at work and I have enough to do on my other stream of income. So I don't have that kind of time. And that's fine. But depending on what your goals are, right? Where you want to go, you can bring in that creator side if there's stuff that you want to put on display at work or being very transparent about what you're doing in the night, from your
Mhm.
9 to 5 and your 5 to 9 because you can do it and structure it in such a way that you bridge over with the transferable skills and the transferable knowledge that it does take work and massaging of the message to make sure that people get it and it's not in conflict because you always have to. I find that most creators
Mhm.
who are working the 5 to 9 on the creator side and the 9 to 5 in their other job, they got to respect the paycheck. So I know I've been giving a lot of different advice, but one of the things that if the paycheck is important, and there are a lot of people who are great with doing both. They never want to leave their full-time job. They love it, but they still want the that 5 to 9. And that's okay too, but you got to respect the paycheck. So you just got to recognize the throttle, recognize any sort of challenges and then merge your messaging. So it's one of those things you do that and of course you do that. That makes so much sense to me. So that's how I would give that advice there.
Okay. So I'm gonna come back to share. uh, You just may take over tonight. You talked about you talked about learning how your brain works and how you function, and how to put,
Mhm.
learning to put these systems in place. So that led me to this question, and it actually, I think, also ties into the answer you just gave, and that is, how does self care play a role when you're
Mhm.
maintaining your productivity and cultivating your brand and doing something new? That
Mm,
sometimes, I'll put me.
yeah.
I can be terrible at self care.
Mhm,
I really truly can.
mhm.
Mhm.
And people in my life have to remind me to put my own mask on first.
That part. One of the things that I'm struggling with right now, one of the things I've got on top of what I'm really excited about is, you know, um, what I'm eating and being mindful of how I'm eating, what I'm eating, when I'm eating, and what I'm not eating. But one of the things that I want to get on the regular list is also regular activity. Like doing things, doing fitness things, more than haphazardly once or twice, like just doing it properly, right? And getting that into a routine. Because when you're so busy, it is so
Mm,
it's so easy for me to sacrifice myself.
mm,
And especially when it comes to, I've got so much on my plate right now. There's a lot I'm trying to build. There's a lot. I feel like in this current age, I think we're in a very special, short period of opportunity right now with AI and how it's working, how it can transform certain things. There's that stress of not necessarily first movers advantage, but in that early adopter stage and how we can leverage this. So, I mean, for me, AI, the last year when, or not last year, but the December 2022, that rocked my world. Like November, the end of November, beginning of December 2022, it literally removed where I thought, or at that point, I had a crisis around value because I'm an excellent writer. That's one of my skills. I create content. I help people articulate their value, all that good stuff. And now enter ChatGPT, right? And enter the value and speed in which it can do things. No, it can't match me and my skills. But at that time, it was one of the most intimidating things because now I'm like, okay. And then, things like LinkedIn saying, oh, we're going to offer AI so it can just write your profiles. Not that I'm a LinkedIn profile writer, but those are the kind of things. And then you've got all these people who can now use AI and sound like they're really smart when they're really one or two prompts deep. And I remembered at that time how that shook my world. It rocked me to my core as recognizing what my value was. But
mm,
then, as I recognized, as anybody who fears something, you have to face the fear by figuring it out. And then me taking that time to figure out how it works, how to use it, how it's, and it's funny because James, Steve, myself, and a few other
Corey.
people, Corey, yeah, we were on a live stream, and the one thing that I said was, it's not the person, it's not AI that's going to put you out of a job or put you out of work. It's the person who knows how to use AI that will do
Hmm.
so. And that sort of shifted my thinking. But to come back to this whole anchoring in around self care, is that moment caused me to entirely rethink my business model. And we already had to, and I was right on the cusp of doing that when the pandemic started. Then I had to rethink my business model. And
Mm,
then again. And now this is such a golden period. And I know it's going to be short lived. So there's a lot of pressure for me to make sure I'm incorporating AI in a smart way in my business to help my clients and building it in. I have like platform dreams, I have enterprise level dreams right now, and that I'm making a reality. But with that comes the sacrifice of self that I have to be very careful of because I'm doing a lot and probably too much. And so, anyways, but to come back to what we are saying, I know I've been rambling, but it's really around, you have to take time out for yourself, and you have to. And I was just talking to Steve about this last night. I need to figure out and have non-negotiable times for self-care.
Mm,
mm.
mm. You just spoke a whole sermon right there. Non-negotiable times.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Non-negotiable times for self.
Yeah.
Y'all hear her? Non-negotiable times for self-care.
Yeah.
Okay, there goes them stilettos again.
Mm.
Just saying. Uh, so James, I'm not sure which James Hicks put in the comment. Ask the same question. Ask him the same question in a couple of weeks when he's in the hot seat. I'm not sure which question it is, but I'm sure he will let me know which question it is.
Hmm. Hmm.
And we have a very good takeaway here. I want to share with folks and share. This is from you, so we are all our lessons are apparently going to come from you tonight. Takeaway: never pass the mic. Clarify who you are, then drop the mic.
Yes. Yes, and
What?
amen. You
Then
have to
drop
own it.
the
Own
mic.
own your moment, right?
Yeah.
And don't don't defer. Like, don't give it to somebody else. It's just 10 seconds. You think in your mind it feels awkward, but when you clarify your value and exactly what you do and how you can help, it's incredible how productive you will be in a meeting because people know who to go to for what, right? And what you're claiming and what you want to walk away with.
All right, y'all. If you want to get
Hmm.
if you work in a corporate environment and you want this kind of gold to come to your corporate environment, talk to who I don't know who you talk to, your training, your L&D, whoever. Cher can tell you there's a website to send them to.
Mhm,
There's a
mhm.
website to send them to. Do what you do because
Work
you're
with
hearing the
me on LinkedIn. It's all
real
Just do
good.
stuff
it.
all
You can
day.
Just do it.
it's all good.
Yeah, all good. Don't let it Steve, he telling on you.
What James said. That's
Steve
rough.
be hitting
That's
up our
facts.
group chat
Uh,
at 4 a.m.
That's
his
facts.
time.
It's facts. I mean, I can't. Yeah, it's facts. It's true. It's true. Like it's yeah, man. When something comes to me and I'm working through something, because I know share's not up and at that point in time, but I'm always you know, ideating and sharing ideas. And, I think that I mean, when you think about productivity too, right? I think having people to bounce stuff off of
yeah,
helps you as well. It helps you once again, remove some of the waste, right? And they can like, nope, that's horrible. Nope, that's good. Nope, and then having people. Here's the other critical part too, from a like feedback standpoint. Somebody who really knows you. You got to be careful who you go to, right? You have to be
Wow.
careful who you go to because
yeah.
everybody is not they don't know you like that. James and Corey and Walter and of course Cher, like they know me. My friend Eddie, like I can send them something and they're like, nah, nah, no, no, that don't fit your brand. Or nope, that doesn't sound like you, or whatever it is. Okay, okay, I'll trust it. And that now I know I can move that away and I can really focus in on what I need to do. So making sure you have and not that everybody always talks about your board of directors. I get that. I just like to have really good people around me um, that want to see me win, and I want to see them win. Period.
And
Yeah.
that's the thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. It,
Go ahead,
it's
share.
it's really interesting when you have someone who can hold you accountable and check you on. So I'm still, it's always a battle as far as where my attention goes. And to check me on things that it may seem urgent or whatever, but is it important? Right?
Mm,
Is it where I should be spending my time, effort, and energy? Am I going too deep on something? Because I love to hyper focus
mm,
and I
mm.
have
Sorry.
significant perfectionism issues. And already I operate at a high level. There are things that my output is at a high level. And so, Steve will constantly remind me, he's like, the level that you're putting out there, it's so far beyond what needs to be done. Like it's on a different stratosphere and you're focusing too much. You're trying to even heighten it even more. And that's a waste of time. Right. So, you
Mm.
know, I need to like, he'll help me guard my time from myself because
Mm,
I can get
mm,
lost in that, right? So, having somebody and having people around you, and I have a few other friends that are really good to bounce ideas off of, and being so clear on where I'm going that they can stop me from going
mm,
the direction I
mm.
should be going. So it's
Wow.
important.
Strong. That is super strong. You guys, you're just oof. So we're going to shift the conversation a little bit because I help people with workflow, and which means at some point we're going to talk about tools and technology. So let's talk a little bit about your
Mhm.
tools, your technologies, your methods, your approaches that you use. What do you use to manage, as I call it, the core, your task, your schedule, your calendar, all the flood of information that comes into you, because we all have a flood of information usually coming in through email. But the flood of information, what do you use? How you make that all work?
You want to go, or do you want me to go first?
You can go first.
I go first. So interestingly enough, initially I'm still an old school pen and paper guy, right? And Cher can attest to that because my desk will have all these notes, like to do lists and different things like that. So because I still like writing things down. But from a bigger, broader standpoint, there's Notion, there's OneNote, um, Apple Notes, and then Sessions that I just started using, and of course my Outlook calendar. So there's probably like five. I think that's around five things that I use. The Outlook calendar is just that, right? It's very simple that I use. Sessions is a platform that that we just picked up, and it is positioning itself as the kind of Zoom killer. The thing that I love about Sessions, I shared a text the other day. I was like, "Yo, I am no longer using Zoom or Calendly. Sessions allows you to kind of integrate all of those. Your Calendly and then your Zoom call all in one, and you are able to create this kind of seamless platform for your brand, and also for whether it's coaching clients, presentations, webinars, all these different things. So instead of just having two separate pieces, I just have that. OneNote, Cher got me addicted to OneNote, where I pretty much kind of brain dump there, and also in Apple Notes. And then Notion is where I keep my CRM, all of my content that I'm going to be creating is in there. It goes from OneNote over to Notions. When it's in Notions, it's pretty much a go. It means that it's actually going to take place. So those are sort of my productivity tools.
Well,
Uh-oh.
I
Oh,
I got
love
to learn how to use a computer.
it's all good. As Steve mentioned, I am OneNote queen. I've been using OneNote
you
probably since I started my
should
business.
do a class on
So,
that. You should do a class on that. Seriously.
We can do a class together. I actually just taught a corporate class last week on it.
oh, really? I
Oh,
love OneNote so much. You probably, I mean, I'm very specific set of usage or skills. I have a very specific set of OneNote skills, and I don't go that much beyond how I use it. But it's been such a tool for me to ideate, to save things. I use each of my clients they're my one-on-one clients. They have a
mm,
OneNote book, and I'm able to like copy in resources, and that's where we track all of our work. So our calls are not just expensive coaching calls that we just talk. Everything goes into OneNote, and it's an iterative process as we're developing certain aspects of their brand, and then the recording. So I still use Zoom. I haven't moved over to Sessions yet. I have an AppSumo problem. AppSumo, for those
oh,
who don't know, I've
Lord have mercy.
like, so
Yeah.
that is where they sell lifetime deals on software, and they're usually in early stage companies. They probably got one or two rounds of funding, maybe more, and they're just trying to build up their user base. So they'll sell lifetime deals on software. So my digital garage is full; it's packed. I can't open it. There's so much in there. But Sessions is one of them. Most of my tech I end up, because I can't help myself, I end up getting from AppSumo. And one of the things that I'm using right now heavily is a program called Nifty, and it's a project management program.
Mm,
And it's, for me, I love it. And
yeah.
it integrates well with my calendar. So I'm setting, deadlines for myself. I've had to, and like any of these productivity programs and all that kind of stuff, you got to use it and then figure out your system within the
Yeah.
system and
Yeah.
how it works.
Yeah.
It took a while to get there. So I use that. I am a voice dictator. Like I voice dictate everything. So I use Otter, even for my ideas. And now I'll spit out ideas while I'm driving, and because I speak copy, I've been writing copy for a very long time, and so I can speak in sound bites. So I'll be driving and I'll be writing something, but I'm speaking. And then I'll organize that through now ChatGPT, helping me organize my thoughts and giving me feedback and critiquing things. So that's how I use it. And also to make it a little more concise or pull out better points, whatever. And what else do I use that I absolutely love? So Otter, OneNote, Apple Notes.
Mm. Up
Um,
coach, up
oh,
coach. You're
UpCoach.
using.
Yeah, that's where I'm currently wanting to move all my clients to, because then it will allow me to have a lot of things built in so that I'm sharing resources in a different way, and I'm updating one thing and it goes to all of the clients. I can also see their
Mm.
activity, the dashboard system. And as I think about how I'm growing my team, and that's something that is, I don't have a team yet. I have, freelancers that I've used and whatnot, but I don't have a team. But the person who developed or owns Up Coach, his name is Todd Herman. He's a person who wrote Alter Ego Effect, and he's a high performance coach. So he built a solution for himself, because it wasn't in the market the way he wanted to, and it's really a program that's built on coaching and cohort training. And so one of the things that he does is he actually manages his operations, his team operations from inside Up Coach, which is really interesting. So it's just a thought. But yeah, I use a lot of different tech, but I would say those are in like the top five, if there are five there.
Mhm.
Okay, I did hear a couple that I didn't know of.
Mhm.
The up coach, I didn't know about that one.
Yeah.
Yeah, I have absolute problem too.
Yeah. Oh, it's bad.
Oh, there's those titles, I tell you, they just get me. It's a thing, y'all. It is a thing.
Thing.
It is a thing.
Adobe
Natalie did.
Canva, right? Like
Yeah.
that. Oh, oh.
It's a whole thing. I feel like I have worn on you all because I can keep you here,
Mhm.
giving more goodness. So um, I do want to just kind of circle back. You've given a lot, so I really really appreciate it. And all of these tools you're using, when you
Mhm.
step back and just take the tools out of the process, right? Because just take it away. What? How do you think about prioritizing your task and managing your time day to day, just that thought process that you go through, because tools can't do that for you.
Mhm.
Mm.
That has to come
Mhm.
out of your mind.
Right.
Mhm.
How do you do that? How do you go about it? What's your you know process? Steve, you got a
Yeah.
million sticky notes around the house.
I I do. I think it's capturing it's capturing like thoughts as they come to you
Mhm.
that hopefully align with your broader vision of what it is that you need to do. I think part of the tools come with the idea first of actually cleaning out that room and then putting back in kind of only what you need. And
Mm-hmm.
then ideally, when you have clarity of the things that you're just gonna be prioritizing, right? So, like, for this year, um, it's the campus and writing a book and then, growing the coaching business, right? Those are the 3 things that I'm really, really focused on. I have a sub project that I'm working on from a research project, as well. But, and then from there, everything else is dictated from those 3 main, things that I wanna go after. And then if it doesn't really align, it's kind of a good idea. I may just gonna go to the back burner or whatever too, because I actually came up with a name for this leadership podcast, that I was thinking about, like, with some other leaders, and I was like, "Oh, that would be actually pretty good, like, down the line." I was like, "That's not something I want to do right now. So you just kind of you have to kind of as the ideas come to you, you actually have to kind of put them aside and have that discipline, if you will, to just do those things that are actually gonna add value and impact to move those things that that you've identified forward. Because if they don't, then once again, we go back to that idea around looking busy and not actually moving the needle on those things, right? The other part about having people around you too, is that they hold you accountable to those things you said that you were going to do, right? This is why I will, message James in our group and those guys at 5 o'clock in the morning because they're like, oh, I'm doing what I said I was going to do, and I'm holding them accountable, and vice versa. And then and Cher and I do it in our own way as well. But um, I just thinking, making sure that we have those priorities first, and then everything that we think about and do kind of has to align with those things as well.
Okay, Miss Jones.
I write a lot. So, and when I write, I mean, I write in notebooks. Like I have a notebook
Mm,
too, right? And I love dot matrix notebooks. Those are my favorite because they allow my brain to just expand, and I'm not. Ugh, it's like it's almost like I feel claustrophobic with lines. I love I love
yeah,
a good notebook, and I'm constantly writing notes. And sometimes it's just to get the busyness out of my brain out, but
yeah,
I also have to recognize that sometimes there's some really dope things that I write down and then completely leave aside. So y there's gold in your notebooks if you go through them regularly and,
yeah,
and capture those ideas in an actionable way. And
yeah.
what I'm trying to develop the habit of, I can't say it's secondary to me, but blocking times or just putting like actioning it. So using Mel Robbins, that 5 4 3 2 1. If you do even something with an idea, even if it's scheduling time to go work on that idea and or giving it, or
Mhm,
even when I'm busy, I have this thing called I call the D list. It's a distraction list. So I'll if I get an idea, I'll just quickly write it down and then distraction list in my Nifty, for example. And then it kind of gives me the satisfaction that I gave it a little bit of attention, but I put it aside and maybe added a date to it if I found it was important to revisit it. And then for me, the number one thing that has been so effective for me was really when I started to do the where I'm leaving off, like where I left off list.
mhm,
So I
mhm.
really know in the moment, if let's say, for example, because you could all of a sudden get a cool opportunity that you drop everything to you have to take this opportunity, and then 2 weeks later now you're trying to pick back up, and for me that's sometimes hard to do. So being able to go to this list and say, oh, and being as detailed as possible with that list to
Mhm.
say, go into this one note on this page, it's right there, this is where we are going with this is what I think you need to do next, and like it's literally talking to myself in the future.
There's something to be said about writing it down. My pastor, when I lived here in Atlanta the first time, Pastor Dennis, we were at a men's meeting, and he was just talking about writing. Of course, back of two and two, like write the vision down. But he talked about like he got a stat. I think he said that in his room only 5% of people will write down like what I'm saying, right? And then of that 5%, 95% actually will accomplish those goals. And this was 2003 or four when he said that, and that's like honestly stuck with me, and I think that's why I still use right. Even though I may have my dashboard here from a Notions and OneNote, I will still write it down on a piece of paper what I need to do for that day. And there's something that for me, there's just something about it. And then to kind of elaborate a little bit on what Cher's talking about too. One of the things that you know when you have somebody that they want to see you win, but more importantly, where you can you can just have this stream of consciousness, and we will do it, and we will just start talking about stuff, and I'm like, yo, hold on for a second, like we need to record this, like and she'll grab the phone and she'll start recording it because we're capturing you know that that those moments of like, this is a really good idea, or this actually applies to something that I'm doing. And so I think we have to make sure that we're taking those moments to actually capture um those ideas, even if, so like you said, even if we don't do anything with them, we actually still have to make sure that we are capturing those ideas down, and then kind of putting them somewhere else from that standpoint, but got to capture them.
And one thing from a productivity perspective that I found really cool about capturing your ideas, so if you go through your notebook and then what you
Mm,
do is you dictate what you so you can either do it into Otter or do it on like Apple Notes or whatever notebook you're using, but just go through your book, right? And read the stuff that's really good so you capture it digitally. And
yeah.
then also go back into, if you are an avid, like you write things down in your notes and stuff like that, consolidate your notes. You could even run it through ChatGPT to organize
Yes.
your notes, right? So
Yes.
you've got themes, you got like ask it to put it out into themes, ask it to it depends on what comes back, right? And then you can work with that so it can organize and then you can critique it. There's so many things you can do with it. Just depends on
Yeah.
the data that you're working with, but pull out some of your ideas from your
Mhm.
notes that are noteworthy, and then just consolidate your notes and then run it through, and you'd be surprised what you come back with.
Yeah. I record everything. I know we're gonna be going long on this one, but I record everything. So I had a VA last year, and we would be having meetings and Zoom calls, and when the conversation just starts there, the ideas and concepts and start to flow,
Mm,
and we would both be exchanging some really like dope stuff, and like we're like, did you write that down? Like, no, did you write that down? I was like, oh man. And we had gotten to the point when we were meeting, we were both like, who's recording this? Are you recording this? Okay. Because we didn't want to miss anything. We didn't want to miss anything. I it's like that hot sauce thing. I put that stuff on everything. I record everything. Like,
yep.
you know, I mean, I whoever I'm meeting with, like even if it's just a coffee chat, right? I was meeting with somebody the other day from Rethink Retail, and I was like, I'm recording this because I may say something dope, and I don't want to miss it just because
Mm,
it's conversation. And they just start chuckling, but it's just true. So if you're able to just capture, whatever it is, it's not even just from a content standpoint. It is because when someone asks you something, man, you never know what is going to come out of your mouth, and you don't want to miss those opportunities. So that's just Steve. That's just what I do.
Wow, you guys have given so much. I'm going to ask you a question that I'm going to give you an opportunity to think about it because I want to just talk
Mhm.
about next week. And then I'm going to come back and let you guys close us out by answering this last question. And when you're done, it's done, y'all. We have
great.
gotten
Mhm.
so much. And let me just say, I'm going to be going back with notebook, pen, and grabbing it all because this was this is the way you kick off something where people are leading, not just famous, they're leading you to be better than you are, to achieve more, to accomplish your purpose. These are two people who are definitely, they are very aware. So the question I'm going to give you to think about, and I think it's really appropriate for the two of you. How do you leverage the feedback that you're getting from your community, from each other, from your clients to improve your processes? So
Sure.
while you're
You want to
thinking
first?
about that, I'm going to just
Oh,
let everybody know a little bit about next week and then I'll
okay.
come back to you.
Yeah, go for it.
So everybody, next week we're gonna have two new people to the community joining us, and I'm so excited. We will have Kirk Nugent and David Hunt. David. So for those who don't know, David Hunt is a musician and a music producer. And I actually listen to his music a lot of time because it's very soothing music when I'm working and I just want to hear something. So sometimes I'll just put him on and listen to his music. He plays music on his YouTube channel. Kirk Nugent is known as the Geek Speaker Preacher. He's a content creator, live video coach. I'm just very excited to have both of them come join and just continue this conversation. I know that neither of these two gentlemen are not new to Steve and Cher, and they'll continue. They'll take that ball, go to chapter 2, and move it forward. So, looking forward to have you come back next week and hear from these two pioneers. So I'm gonna come back to our guests and let them take us out of here, and it's just gonna be them, y'all, and then we gonna go home, as the saying goes. All
All
right,
right.
it's on you guys.
What was the question again?
How do you leverage feedback that you're
Oh,
getting from your
oh
community, even
God.
from especially you all, because you're engaged, you have
Oh
a tighter
God. So
relationship. How do you leverage that to improve your
yeah,
processes?
Cher, you know I'm about to go, right? So, um, 2.5 years, maybe almost 3 years ago, something like that. You know, um, I had it was two parts of my podcast, audio podcast, and I was doing it live. So Cher was on the audio podcast first. I was doing this thing on what would you tell yourself 20 years ago, yada yada yada. So she gave some great information on that. And then I actually had her live on my podcast. And at that point in time, I was like doing the most and doing too much. And the actual episode, if you guys want to go to my channel and watch it, it's an epic episode. I mean, it's one of the best episodes out there. But I made the mistake. No, it's not the mistake. But after we finished the show, I said, because I know she's been doing live streaming for a long, long time. I said, hey, you got any feedback for me? She's like, oh, like just diarrhea of the mouth. Like she gave me like 6 or 7 things. It's just like, yo, wow, that's a lot. So it's funny now, because now in the relationship that we're in, you know, I would do a show, and one of the friends, then she would be downstairs and I would do a show, and I would walk downstairs and how did the show go? Da 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 da. They're like, oh, you ready for some feedback? And then we do it vice versa now. We were both like, hey, you ready for some feedback? I think I said all that to say is that is it's you you have to be okay with getting the feedback. You may not agree with all of it, right? But you also have to understand and realize that it's a lot of the feedback is if it's all depends on the person who it's coming from, right? And that level of relationship that you actually have with that person. And so, feedback that I get from Sharon James, weighs a lot different than, someone who just found my content and they're like, well, could you do this? And I'm like, really? Okay, all right. But it all depends on the level of relationship that you have. And then because if they want you to win, they're not going to tell you something that you don't that's not going to help you win. So I always think about it in that level of relationship. And then there is some people who I don't have that level of relationship with, and they may say something and I'm like, oh, okay, I never thought about it that way. So you got to take everything with a grain of salt. So there you go.
And it's hard
I mean,
because I am blunt. I'm a very blunt community. I just say it like it is. It is what it is, especially when it comes to feedback, and especially where it's in my lane and I know what I'm talking about. And I'm not offended when someone doesn't take my feedback. I don't care. I always have what?
you're boring me. You know what I'm talking about? You're boring me. You
Oh,
want to go tell
yes,
them that
'cause
story?
I'm bored. You would come downstairs or whatever, or I'd be on the phone or whatever and be like, "I'm bored."
No,
And
I was explaining something to her. I was actually thinking about a talk that I was going to have, and I was telling her about it, and she's like, "Oh, I'm bored." I was like, "Dude, like what?"
there's
I'm
next
bored.
level of bluntness with him because I just want to get straight to the point. I know the even the type of clients that I choose to work with and choose to agree that this is probably not a good fit for them right now, depending on where they are at. Um, I I have a particular style in which I give feedback. It's very and people who like just give it to me straight. I'm the Simon Cowell. I'm not mean Simon Cowell, but I'm not a Paula, right? So I am someone who's going to give it to you. And then if you ever watched American Idol over the years, it's like people actually
Mm,
craved Simon Cowell's feedback because it meant something. It was transformational. It reflected what they needed to hear. And so the one thing that I took from that as well is I want feedback. I actually
mm,
want it because I just wanna
mm,
change. I've gotten to the point in a lot of places where I didn't want it before because I was like it was rejection that I had to deal with, and that's a whole different thing, and that's also, w mapped neurotypically to me as well. But, now it's just like, "No, just tell me what I need to do. Tell me what you think. Tell me what you know," and I want it. So feedback is solid. Do I respect it from everybody? It's just like Steve said, those who have the depth of knowledge and experience, you just take it differently. So if someone is critiquing me or giving me feedback from my show or whatever it is I'm doing a presentation, if they're a professional speaker and they're on a level like that I aspire to get to and they tell me something good, bad, or indifferent, I want it. In fact, I
yeah,
want if there's something wrong, please tell I want it, right?
yeah,
So I crave it. I crave feedback because I'm too old not to be resting on what I think is great. I
yeah,
don't have time for that. I am in this era that I call prime time. That is when your wisdom, your confidence, and your skills converge,
mm,
and it is a finite period of time before you're starting to ride out the sunset and and this is prime time and I got to leverage it and the best way I can leverage it is receiving feedback from others.
yeah, yeah.
All right. Thank you all so much. This is it, y'all. They sending you out of here with power. I'll
There
see you
you go.
guys in the green room in a minute.
Okay.
All right.
Hey, everybody. So we have had a great time. There's going to be a video over here, and I always point the wrong way, so let me not point. But we're going to be back next week. Watch the video that comes up next. Don't miss next week. Good night, everybody.